5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
They've landed.
You're in the right place. Online, on the web, and on air. All over the world.
Talk radio.
You hear us, we hear you.
Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the KTPF Community Talk Show live from Manchester in the UK on www.ktpf.co.uk. And we've had quite a bit of a change of weather this week, what with sun and then rain and thunder and what have you. And we've got atmospherics again tonight. Live stream is playing up, so I'm hoping that we'll stay with you all night tonight. And as I say, we are destined to them. I have contacted them, so hopefully, fingers crossed, everything's okay. If you've just joined us and you've never been here before, this is the KTPF Community Talk Show. KTPF stands for Keeping the Paranormal Friendly, which is what we try and do every single week. My name is Suzanne.
And I'm Steve.
And we're here to... You were ready?
I was ready.
And we're here to bring you bits and pieces of the paranormal, unexplained, cryptozoology, ufology, everything that we can get our hands on.
Including Chris Andrews.
Including Chris Andrews.
He's a topic all on his own.
Yeah. So, talking about Chris Andrews, we have Chris Andrews and co here. Emma's back with us. So, say hello, Emma.
Hello.
I think your mic's...
It's underneath.
It's there ready for you.
Yeah.
Hello.
There you go, that was Emma.
She'll be here in a bit with her observations. Chris and Martin. Chris has brought Martin Cooper with him tonight. So he'll be coming in a moment. So please bear with us. He won't be long. He's gone out for his normal cigarette before he starts. I think he's playing with the dog, probably. So, also, just to let you know that this is a chillax program. Nothing scheduled here, is there really, Steve?
No, nothing is scheduled. We try and answer all the questions that are put our way. We put them forward to our guests, and occasionally we come up with ideas ourselves.
Yeah, and some people
I've got one tonight.
Some people have likened us to having a cup of coffee with some friends. So if you're not doing anything at the moment while you're listening in, get yourself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea.
And by the way, I'm not making another one. Somebody else can do it.
Okay. Well, they've been here more than once.
Yeah, Chris has been here more than once. He can make his own coffee.
Yes.
I ain't got a clue, so.
Well, you've only been here once. You're okay. He hasn't.
No coffee can prende. Stiamo nascendo dalla piscina del Mr. Taggart.
You do realise you're live.
Hello, everybody at
Yes, Rochelle, Dad was having a smoke. Typical.
Hello, everybody out there.
I said, you're going to go with this tonight? So I told her what to do, and so I didn't want to. Oh, man, obviously has done.
Everybody in the chat room and everybody out there.
She definitely has.
Good evening.
So I'm sure when the sun goes in a bit, you'll be able to see us a bit more.
We have Danny Bowden in there as well. The Viscount's just joined us.
Oh, good evening, Viscount. So it's going to be fun tonight.
Oh.
As I said, please, if you have problems with live stream, just refresh, because we are unfortunately bound to them. We have been having problems trying to get back in today, so hopefully, fingers crossed, everything will go all right during the show.
And if you do lose us and can't get back, do not worry. We will keep going.
And record it.
And record it all and put it up on the replay for you.
Yep. Okay. And also, if we lose you, we'll try and refresh and get back to you anyway. Now, what's on tonight's show? I'm going to tell you what's on tonight's show. We're going to be talking about twin telepathy. Did I get that right?
You did. You've been saying therapy all week.
I know I have. We're going to talk about twin telepathy. We're going to talk to a man called Guy Lyon Playfair, and he's he's been doing this research on twins. We're going to find out a bit about this phenomena. We'll be speaking to him on the phone at 8:30. That should be fun.
Yeah, we have been asked to do the twin thing first.
Yes.
We can ask him other questions about other things, but he would like us to do the twin thing first.
Yeah, because that's what he's doing. We will hopefully
That's his main thing at the present time.
touch on the Enfield Poltergeist case a bit later on.
Yes.
So that should be fun. But we need to talk about the twin therapy first.
Oh, okay.
Are you a twin? I've been asking people out there to come on the show who maybe is a twin and to see whether they have been connected. So if you are a twin, we'd love to hear from you and see what you think. So are you a twin, Martin?
Me? No, thank God.
You're not a twin?
No, I'm not. And thank God for that, because you wouldn't want to be in this world at the same time. I can assure you.
Don't fit.
No, that's not nice.
Bless him. Just showing that it's live.
Don't
It is
even
live.
get me started, Mr. Andrews.
As you can see, guys, there's no black
Please.
eye here at the moment.
Not yet.
Tune in 10 minutes and it might be different.
Yes.
I don't know. Well, I've hot-footed it back from Matlock Bath, haven't we, Steve?
We have, yes. It's been quite a nice day over in Matlock.
Yes, it has.
It rained very early on, about 7 o'clock kind of time, and then we had nothing until
About 3, wasn't it?
near 4 o'clock.
Near 4 o'clock.
We had sunshine all day.
It was really nice, quite packed. We went down there last week to see what it was like, you know, the MBS I was going to do, and the place was packed.
Yeah.
Bikers.
There must have been at least 150 bikers down there that day.
That's your main playing area for bikers in this sort of weather.
I asked what the attraction was. That they said it's the Derbyshire seaside town.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're all there.
Mm.
Any form of and size of bike you will see there.
Oh yeah, there was quite a few. There was a lovely car there, wasn't there? An Ed Seal, big car. So
It is.
what's this here?
The Viscount said there's no scientific evidence that telepathy is a real phenomenon. Many studies seeking to detect, understand, and utilize telepathy has been done, but no results can be replicated.
This is very true.
Well-controlled experiments exist. Right, well, okay. We're going to find out more from Guy. You can Skype him.
Yes,
if he'll let you.
Yes, he might hear. He's on the phone.
So
we might have to pass it on.
Yeah, we might have to pass it on.
Yeah.
But
having said that, there may not be telepathy. There does seem to be a link between a lot of twins. They do seem to. You hear lots of stories.
Yes, you do. What do you reckon?
Having said that, do you really need to be a twin? You just need a connection.
And is it fraternal twins, or is it identical twins, or is it mixed twins?
See, me and my sister, there's about 2.5 years between us, and we do it so many times where we're in sync. We'll say something, not just a word, but an entire sentence, or we'll think the same thing, but maybe just very similar people.
Yeah.
Me and Sue always used to finish each other's conversations off.
Well, there is a thing called synchronicity.
Yes.
As well, you see, synchronicity is where people
say
something someone's just thought about, or I was just thinking that, or thinking of something, and the most common one is you're thinking of someone, the telephone rings, and they're on the other line. You know, so it's like synchronicity.
Well, the couple of things that have been mentioned here is Steve was saying, two male twins had different areas of interest. One played soccer, and the other two guitar lessons. After a few months, however, the soccer-playing twin could play the guitar nearly as well as his brother, without even taking a lesson. The study of the boys also said that they had had limited interaction with each other during the time they were pursuing these interests. While shopping, a man in Texas, I nearly said Tesco then, a man in Texas was forced to sit down due to a stabbing pain in his chest. He later learned that his twin brother in New York was having a heart attack at the same time. A young girl had an accident with her bicycle and broke her ankle. Her twin sister developed swelling in the same uninjured ankle. I saw something on YouTube as well where a girl had hurt her eye. It was all bruised up. And the other one, by the time they took the girls to hospital together,
a twin had the black eye.
The twin started to get a black eye as well.
I saw something today. It was two women, two sisters, identical twins, completely different continents to each other. Got on the phone with this particular day because they'd been in the same shop at the same time, bought the same pair of trousers, the same colour, and they're both the same size. So you tell me what's going on there.
Well, I had one on our observations a while back. There was two gentlemen that they were separated at birth, but they had the same job, drove the same car, smoked the same cigarettes.
Yeah.
I mean, they obviously didn't find out until they actually eventually met each other, but they were doing exactly the same thing on opposite sides of the country.
Well, the saying is also that you've got when identical twins come from the same egg, when it splits and everything else, and that's where the connection is involved. Where they come from the same egg, they're both obviously identical, so the bond over that 9 months they're together, both come out into into the open world and everything.
Yeah.
And the connection is building between them while they're inside, because they've got exactly the same genes. Everything's as identical twins. So that's why the connection with the the mental side of it is part of what they do.
Yeah, Michelle's just said that me and my sister Kirsty are very close, and we do and say the same things at the same time. And Viscount says the mothers have a similar experience when one of their children get hurt.
So is it a synchronicity or is it actually telepathy? So we'll find out from Guy.
Well, with mothers, you could say it's a maternal link.
Maternal link.
So these are things that aren't like Viscount said, aren't scientifically confirmed. I suppose they're probably at the moment. I don't think there's an actually technical way of actually confirming something on that level.
How can you confirm by giving one twin a black eye and see if the other one feels it?
What we do know is that there is, and we know for certain that there is an uncanniness. We know that people do experience these things. And it's uncanny, and one person will do this, a set of twins may do this, somebody else will do that, and so reports do come in that this happens, but obviously putting that into proof is a different concept, isn't it?
I mean, it's a similar thing to what James Randi's trying to do, trying to get mediums and that tested and to try and replicate things in a specific scientific way, and you just can't do it.
I'm sure there's. I've heard mentioned that, as in the life after death side of it, with twins. One passes away, and the other one's still around, still on the Earth plane, and basically they're saying that they still get messages via, the other side, rather than someone who's who isn't a twin.
Yeah.
I don't whether that's it's just a hearsay, but whether that that actually happens, you don't know, do you?
No, this is it. So, but there, as I say, at the end of the day, the children are in the womb from one cell. The cell splits, and that's So it was originally one cell,
Yeah.
And then it splits, and then that becomes twins, and and they're still growing alongside each other.
Yeah.
So perhaps they do get some sort of connection.
A lot of the time, when they're young, twins can't stand each other. Completely opposite, and then they come back when they get older. We have roughly 15 minutes before we get Mr. Playfair on the phone. So
I was thinking this.
Shall we go to Emma?
Hang on, let him think.
I was just going to say I was thinking of this earlier on before, and I was thinking about going a bit delver from people to germs. Microscopic germs and things like that.
Yeah.
When you get a certain type of bacteria, things like that. And you get like the single cell, and then it just sort of divides itself, and then it'll divide again and divide again, until it's got a mass of them. So, but it all seems to come from that single cell. So, not just people. Could that be possible? I mean, obviously, bacteria isn't quite life as we know it as ourselves, but it's life nonetheless. So, there's the same type of element in that area.
Yeah,
they seem to know to attack us, all right, don't they?
If you just joined us, guys. We're having a problem with live stream. We're hoping we'll stay on, but if not, we will continue recording. It's not down to us; it's down to the Americans.
Everything that we do.
Or it could be down to the atmospherics we're having across the country at the moment with the thunder and lightning and stuff. Right, we're going to hand you over to Emma. Keep an eye on the time. Got until 1:30.
Okay. Well, on the subject of twins and telepathy. True story of fascinating experiments that reveal the telepathic connection between twins. One spring day in 2009, 15-year-old Gemma Horton was suddenly struck with a strong feeling that her twin sister Leanne was in trouble. Gemma hurried to the bathroom where she knew Leanne was taking a bath and found her sister submerged, unconscious and turning blue. Leanne is an epileptic and had suffered a seizure in the tub. Gemma pulled her sister from the tub, administered CPR, and revived her, saving her life. She says, I got this sudden feeling to check on her. It was like a voice telling me your sister needs you. Gemma later told reporters she was under the water. At first, I thought she was washing her hair or playing a trick, but when I lifted her head out, I saw that she had turned blue. I knew that she had had a fit. Had Gemma had not been compelled by the feeling to check on her sister, Leanne almost certainly would have drowned. This story of the telepathic Horton twins made news in March 2009, and it was one more anecdotal account of the psychic connection that is said to exist between many twins, especially identical twins. The Horton sisters happened to be fraternal twins, but their mother says they are inseparable and share an uncanny bond. A survey conducted by Dr. Lyon Playfair, a genetic analysis at the Department for Twins Research at King's College London, showed that 1 in 5 identical twins said they had experienced some form of telepathy, and 1 in 10 fraternal twins reported the phenomenon. Although a telepathic connection between twins is not universal, as Dr. Shirker's study reveals, it is common enough to serve as some of the best evidence for the reality of telepathy among humans, and has provided researchers with a good way to study the phenomenon. Okay, next one. A story about Bigfoot in Missouri. One person's account, he says, it happened when I was about 7 in Springfield, Missouri. We lived in a mobile home that was given to my mother when she left my abusive father. The house was right next to the woods. I had 2 windows in my room, one on each side of the room. When I would get home from the sitters, when Mum was at work, I would go to the woods and climb the trees with a next door neighbour. Mum would be outside, making sure we were okay. One day I was in a tree, and my friend, let's call him Bill, looked up and paled. He could not say anything. I just pointed, that's all he could do. I looked up, and there it was, about 5 feet tall, with big eyes, and it kind of looked like the Ewoks from Star Wars. Bill climbed down from the tree and ran home. I just looked at it. I wasn't scared. I could tell because it was breathing hard and sounded like it was crying. Mum called me in, so I climbed down and ran home. I told my mum what I saw, and she said I was lying. That night I was in bed and saw a shadow from the window. I went over to look, and there it was, with 2 bigger ones with it. The bigger ones were about 4 feet taller than the small one. They were looking at me confused. I was excited because I saw them again. The bigger ones left, and the little one stayed behind and just looked at me. Then it ran off. Then I went to bed. Over the next couple of days I looked, and they were not there. Every so often they would come back at night, and I would be so happy. They would just come back and look. We moved when I was 8. My last night there they came by, and I just cried. They looked at me like they were confused. Then I put my head on the window, and they nodded and did the same. The little one looked like it was sad too. I do miss them still. Yeah. Okay.
The Hendersons.
I used to love that show.
It's a good program.
Okay, actress Vanessa Williams. I think she was in Desperate Housewives. This story is the Westchester home of actress Vanessa Williams haunted? Something strange has been happening inside the Chappaqua home of Vanessa Williams. The actress will appear in a new episode of The Haunting of, a series featuring celebrities whose lives have been impacted by paranormal events. In the new episode, airing June 21st, psychic Kim Russo explains that Vanessa has been experiencing paranormal encounters caused by 2 entities who died tragically. Russo tries to help the lifelong Westchester resident get rid of the negative energy in her home. A list of celebrities sharing their spooky stories in the show's upcoming season also includes Southern native Valerie Harper, rocker Vince Neil, and comedian Tom Green. Yeah, it sounds like a good show. I think I've seen bits of them, but I've never seen the full episode.
I've seen some of the older ones. One of the films she was in was a Razor.
Oh, was it?
With Schwarzenegger.
Oh, I've not seen that one. Okay. Have we got time for another one? Yeah. Okay. A baby declared dead comes back to life after being placed on a chapel altar. July 17, 2013. Family members and medical personnel at a hospital in Brazil say they were stunned after a baby declared dead apparently came back to life after being placed on the altar in the hospital's chapel. According to local news sources, Yasmin Gomes was born premature earlier this month and almost immediately stopped breathing. Doctors attempted for nearly an hour to revive the girl, who weighed only 2.6 pounds. But after their attempt failed, they declared the baby dead and issued a death certificate. Yasmin's mother, Jennifer Gomes de Silva, 22, told Brazil's newspaper that when she was told her daughter died, her world crashed right down. It was the most desperate moment when all her dreams were snatched away. However, nurse Anna Claudia Oliveira asked that instead of being sent to the morgue, the baby of the child should be placed in a box and put on the altar of the chapel. She says, she's a little angel, a child. I couldn't face the thought of her being sent down into the morgue. The nurse testified that in every possible way the baby appeared to be dead. I can assure you the child was dead. Her pupils didn't respond to light. Her signs pointed to the complete absence of life, she said. I saw it with my own eyes. She was blue all over, completely dead, she said. 3 hours later, the baby's grandmother went to fetch the baby with a mortician. But what they saw left them weeping tears of joy instead of sadness. When they went to pick up the baby, she kicked. At first, I couldn't believe it. We couldn't accept that it could happen, said grandmother Eliza Silva. When she saw that she was breathing, we hugged each other and started to shout, she's alive, she's alive. It was a miracle. One of the doctors who fought to save the baby's life is as stunned as a family. Okay, and
I kind of feel sorry for that baby having to be called the miracle baby for the rest of her life.
I know. I'm sure of that down.
Oh dear.
Okay. Haunted Chicago hotel frightens away TV chef. My Kitchen Rules judge Pete Evans has run away from the hotel in Chicago after being spooked by ghosts. The celebrity chef took to his Facebook account to explain that one of the weirdest experiences of his life and why he left the hotel in the middle of the night without checking out. He says, it suddenly felt very eerily cold, and I sensed that something wasn't right with the energy, not only in the hallway, but also even more so when I was inside my room. I tried to shake it off and tell myself it was all in my head, but the extremely uneasy feelings didn't go away. If anything, it became more intense, so I grabbed my bags and pretty much ran out, he wrote. I bypassed checkout and jumped straight into a cab and got the hell out of there. The post has attracted more than 320 comments, including some from ex-employees of the hotel, claiming that the rooms are haunted. Others took it as an opportunity to lampoon the man who made the term activated almonds famous in Australia. It is the USA. Maybe you just inadvertently ate some GMO corn or beef or soy, etc., fan Bob Black posted. Evans, who claimed to be super skeptical about the paranormal before the incident, which occurred over the weekend, doesn't drink coffee, green tea, or alcohol. There is no doubt in my mind that what I felt was real, but each to their own, he said. The Congress Plaza Hotel was built in the late 1800s and is reportedly haunted by many ghosts, including that of Prohibition-era gangster Al Capone, who used the hotel as his headquarters. The north tower of the hotel is believed to be haunted by the spirit of a little boy. He was killed with his brother in the 1930s after his mother threw them off the balcony before jumping off herself. Numerous travel blogs contain stories regarding paranormal activity inside the hotel, especially in the rooms adjacent to room 447, the one Evans was due to stay in. If you ever find yourself staying at the hotel, avoid 441. Security is called there more than any other room. Objects move, strange sounds are heard, and guests have even seen the shadowy outline of a woman, a post on Chicago Now stated.
Yeah. Going back to the baby one, Viscount said it's not a miracle, it's called Lazarus syndrome. I have heard that one as well.
Okay. A ghost encounter in Stafford.
Oh yeah.
A shiver ran down the spine of a Stafford man whenever he thinks about a room in his house at North Walls, and he has a good reason. Former Staffordshire Regiment man Donald Proudlock wasn't the sort of man to run away from things that go bump in the night, but this single room in his terraced home was different. The 29-year-old had moved into the house only 3 days earlier, when a ghost appeared. The figure of a man with a hood over his head is how Donald explained to a newsletter reporter in November 1981. He had been sleeping in the room, and the apparition appeared around 1 o'clock. I thought I must be dreaming, Donald added. I rubbed my eyes, and it was still there. It was sitting in the chair looking at the floor. On another occasion, Don saw the ghost face. It was ugly and contorted, and was leaning over him as he tried to sleep. I closed my eyes, hoping it would go away, but it didn't. I tried to grab it. As I got up, a picture hanging on the wall flew across the room. When Don switched on the light, the ghost disappeared, leaving the picture lying on the floor. He wasn't only the only one to experience a ghostly encounter in the bedroom at his home. One night, a friend was staying with him. We were sitting in the room and talking. After a while, we both went to sleep in our chairs. Suddenly, my friend woke up. He was scared stiff, but couldn't describe what he had seen. Don had noticed the room was as cold as a freezer, yet the electric fire was on, and he could see his breath in the night air. He believed that the person who had lived in the property before him had dabbled in the occult, and found a pack of tarot cards and a hangman's noose above the stairs. One of the tarot cards was nailed to the wall, he says. Despite his experiences, Don rejected the idea of his home being exorcised, but not everyone was so light-hearted about it, including his dog, which would never wander upstairs. It had only been with Don for a matter of 2 days before it went missing. I opened the back door in the morning, it shot out and never came back again. Newsletter reporter Neil Thomas decided to satisfy his own curiosity about this ghostly story and stayed the night in the room, but nothing happened. No eerie noises, no strange apparitions. Even though the electric fire was turned on in the upstairs room, it was the coldest part of the house, reported Thomas. But Christchurch vicar at the time, the Reverend Richard Sargent, understood that hauntings could happen, telling the newsletter, I can accept the reality of it. It's a very real thing, this, the manifestation of spirit. If there is life after death, then it is quite understandable that there should be manifestations. Where there has been a violent death, haunting is most likely, he said. But the vicar cautioned, when dealing with a haunting, I always look for natural cause first. I take a copy of St. Mark's Gospel to give people confidence that there is a power stronger than a ghost. He agreed that dabbling in the occult could have been the cause of the North Wales apparition, and underlined the fact that dealings with the supernatural was all part of his ordinary parish work. And that's that.
Oh, great. That was good timing, that was. Thank you very much.
And since we'd last had a name check, we've had Ace has come in and joined us. Joe Alton has come in. PJ's joined us.
Michaela's
joined us. And PJ, as for that link, I just put it in and it went straight in, didn't it, Chris?
Yeah.
It did.
Right. Okay, well, just before I make this phone call, I just want to introduce you to this guy, Guy Lyon Playfair. He was born in India, educated in England, and graduated from Cambridge University. He immigrated to Brazil and spent 14 years there as a freelance journalist, with a 4-year stint with the US Agency for International Development. While in Brazil, he became interested in the abundant psychic phenomena, psychic surgeons, poltergeists, mediums, etc. Guy then returned to England in 1975 and has written a total of 12 books, the best known being This House is Haunted, an account about the Enfield Poltergeist, and most recently Twin Therapy. Guy became seriously interested in twin therapy about 20 years ago when he met a man whose uncle, a twin, had been shot dead. So I'm going to get him on the phone, and yes, it's a phone interview this time, and see what we can find out about this twin therapy. And if we've got enough time, we'll try and get on the subject of the Enfield ghost.
Poltergeist.
We'll touch on that.
Poltergeist.
That's a new word for you. Poltergeist.
Poltergeist. Bit like Rent-A-Ghost, remember that?
Yeah.
Great program.
Oh, well done. What have I done? Let's try again. I rang him during the week, so I know I've got his number right. It's just whether I've written it right. Let's try again.
If not, we'll interview you.
Don't interview me.
Yeah, we'll interview you.
Do you remember
That's
that,
better.
Chris?
Ghosts of Motley Hall. I was going to say it with Arthur English. Fantastic program.
Hello. Hi, how are you? Okay then. I'll just put you live on the air. Okay, you there? Oh.
What have you done? Did you just cut him off?
Hang on. Hello? Are you there? Hello?
Hello?
That's better. I don't know what happened there. Good evening, Mr. Playfair.
Evening.
Thank you for taking your time to talk to us.
Welcome.
Now we're going to be talking to you about twin therapy, but just to
Telepathy, dear.
telepathy. I keep saying therapy for some reason. Sorry. Before we start, you started in the very beginning. What first attracted you to the field of parapsychology?
Are we on air?
Yes, we are.
Oh, right. Well, so long ago, I can hardly remember. I think it was probably my mother who was a member of the Society of Psychical Research, and I grew up in a very remote Cotswold cottage, miles from anywhere, and relied on what came in the mail, along with my comics and things, and then the Journal of the Society of Psychical Research. So I read that and thought it was interesting, and rather forgot about it for a few years, and never entirely lost touch. And then when I moved to Brazil, I found all kinds of exciting things going on there, like poltergeists and psychic surgeons and much else besides. So when I retired from my proper job with the American Embassy Press Department, I joined a research group and never looked back, really, and I'm very glad I did.
So you've been in the subject quite a few years then?
Yes, altogether I suppose about 30 years or so.
I was also watching on. I was looking for some information about twins and stuff, and about yourself on the internet, and I came across the Enfield Poltergeist documentary that was done with yourself, Kieran O'Keefe, and our friend Mark Rosney, which I was very surprised about.
Yeah, he did a very good job, actually. He was one of the best.
Yeah, and basically, because that's what most people know you for, I would assume, the Enfield ghost.
Well, yes, it was. It had tremendous publicity when it began, and glad to say the book is still in print, so you can all rush out and buy it. And it does seem to have sort of gone down in history in a way, which is nice.
Yeah, well, maybe we can touch a little bit on that before you go this evening, Mr. Playfair. But tonight we're going to be talking about twin telepathy. I got it right.
That's right.
We have heard that there is a possibility that twins are connected. What has your research uncovered?
Well, first of all, I should say that until I started seriously in about 1997, there really hadn't been any research of any use. I mean, there have been various attempts at research which were either never got started or else they gave up after a couple of experiments. And it's an absolutely brand new field of scientific research, which is quite unusual these days, considering that there have been published references to twin telepathy since the 1790s.
Yeah.
Journals of John Wesley, no less. So, I mean, you'd think that the scientists would have woken up by now and done something proper about it, but they haven't.
What made you decide to take this research up?
Well, it started, I think, when some of your older listeners might remember the very high-profile murder of a twin in 1976. That was Ross McWhirter, who was the editor of the Guinness Book of Records.
Oh, yes.
He was shot dead on his doorstep by IRA people, and I thought I'd always been sort of vaguely interested in twins, but I've very rarely actually met any. Seemed to be a bit of a shortage of them in Brazil. I don't know. I only remember meeting one pair, and they were young girls, so I didn't think it was appropriate to question them about anything. But in the case of Ross McWhirter, I did actually know somebody who worked for the Guinness Book of Records. So I made delicate inquiries, and the answer came back from Norris, no, he hadn't felt anything at all. And I thought, well, that's that, and I moved on to other things. And just then the Enfield Poltergeist popped up, so I was diverted into that for quite a long time. However, the way these things happened, whether it's my guardian angel or what. But in about 1995 or 6 or so, I got a call out of the blue from a friend saying, would I be interested in a book commission, sort of rush job and big fee and all that. So naturally I said yes, without even asking what the book was supposed to be about. And luckily it was fairly open and I could include whatever I liked. So I decided to put in a chapter on twin research. And to my surprise, I found that the publisher of this book was no less than the son of Alistair McWhirter. So I thought, let's see what he says. And to cut a fairly long story short, he was present at the time his uncle Ross was killed, and he told me, yes, his father most definitely had reacted, very much so. And I sort of gulped and asked for an exact description, which I wrote down in front of his eyes, and he read and approved of. And yes, he did react, and I gather it's known in psychiatry that if you have a shock like that, you tend to wipe it from your memory. Mm. And Norris could honestly not remember that he did react. He slumped into an armchair with his arms across his chest, and his wife thought he had a heart attack and rushed to the phone to call an ambulance. And just before she got to the phone, it rang, and it was the police. So that's what happened. That I got absolutely direct from the source. Oh, that is true. And then I thought, well, goodness me, this is serious stuff. I better research this properly. Which nobody else seems to be doing. And I've been doing it ever since. So that's how that happened.
All right. Now, we've read stories about, one that comes to mind is, there's two men who didn't know they were twins, living miles apart, had the same job, smoked the same brand, and drove the same car. So maybe you don't have to know you're a twin to have a connection. Have you come across this in your study?
Well, that famous story, that sounds like the famous Jim twins. Mm-hmm. Well, unfortunately, people tend to get two things mixed up. I mean, you have telepathy, which is one thing, which is direct communication from mind to mind. And then you have what's called thought concordance, where if you have identical twins, it's natural that they're going to have a great deal in common.
Yeah. And
we now know that they have a lot more in common than was previously suspected. And they can have incredibly similar parallel lives, even when, as they used to be quite often, when they're separated at birth and brought up separately. And I've met a pair of those, and the coincidences are quite extraordinary, but they've never had any experience of telepathy at all. Although the synchronicities, if you like, or the similarities in their tastes and their actions and general behavior are very, very similar, although they only met for the first time when they were age 40. Mm. So it's important not to get that mixed up. Where the telepathy comes in is if something totally unexpected, which cannot be ascribed to any kind of genetic whatever, totally unexpected, like an accident, or a murder, indeed, or sudden illness, or just a fit of depression or whatever. It's always some kind of bad news, isn't it? It's never good news. When you get one of these emergencies and the other twin knows about it, then that is not concordance. That is telepathy. There's no other alternative.
Have you only found the link, or rather, is the link stronger between identical twins, and has this link ever been found in any other family members? Because some people can say like the mother's got a strong maternal instinct on certain things. Would you say it's more stronger with identical twins?
Yes, you've got a kind of scale from 1 to 10, if you like, where up at the top of the scale, 9 or 10 out of 10, you have mothers and young babies, and one other, which I've forgotten at the moment, identical twins up there with them, and then semi-identical or fraternal twins who are only half identical, they score exactly half on all the surveys we've done. It's exactly half, quite uncanny sometimes how we find 60% of a sample of identicals say yes, they have had telepathy, and only 30% of the non-identicals say they have. So that's quite clear, and as for the rest of the population, yes, it does happen. I mean, it happens between brothers and sisters, or even just friends. You do get isolated cases when people who know somebody particularly well, they suddenly get an impression there's something wrong with them. They give them a phone call and find they've just been taken to hospital. This happens quite often. I mean, it's really quite normal.
Is this more synchronicity than telepathy?
Well, of course, it's very hard to prove. I mean, what you have to do is experiments, which is what I've started doing quite recently, with the cooperation of my psychologist friend, Professor Parker from Gothenburg. He's really the first person anywhere to do a thorough, systematic study of the whole subject. And it's very exciting to be in on it at the beginning, really, because it's not been done before, ever.
So, can you tell us any stories about any of your research?
Yes, quite a lot. I think one of the most interesting that I can remember was, some of you may have seen the Paul McKenna television program in 1997, called The Paranormal World of Paul McKenna, for which I was one of the researchers. And at one of our first meetings, I suggested to Paul that there should be an item on twin telepathy, and he said, yes, okay, do it. And luckily we had a very enlightened team of producers who set up quite an ingenious experiment where they built a huge pyramid in the studio full of nice sort of flashing lights and colors and things. And then Paul did a very neat job of virtually hypnotizing one of the twins in the studio. Of course, you're not allowed to do that on TV, but he virtually did. And meanwhile, her sister was in the back room behind two soundproof doors, wired up to a polygraph, and supervised by a very experienced polygraph operator, Jeremy Barrett, who's one of the country's leading experts in that field. And then at a certain moment, the special effects wonks pushed a button, and the pyramid exploded with a loud bang and clouds of smoke and sparks, and the poor girl in front jumped out of her skin. You know, that was a real shock. And you see on the split screen, at exactly the same moment, the polygraph chart, which picked up 4 different channels. I mean, respiration, skin resistance, and what's the other one? Well, anyway, 2 others. And the needle just whizzed off the paper. I mean, it was so obvious that I thought, surely that's that. But curiously enough, nobody seemed to notice. It was not commented on in any of the reviews that I read, because you have all these sort of propagandists around telling us that telepathy is a load of rubbish and it just doesn't happen. And when it does happen, they can't even see it. It's interesting.
Very interesting. One question that we had in the chat room earlier was, I think it was Rochelle that asked this question. She said, has there been any test on twins that have been separated at birth? As in, I'm assuming she means conjoined, or answer both on that, whether it be just separated.
No, she means twins that don't know they're twins.
Oh, that don't know
miles apart.
Yeah, that don't know they're twins.
Do you mean who've actually been cut apart? Like
no, Steve's just verified. She means that twins that don't know they're actually twins.
Oh yes, there were lots of those. They're much rarer nowadays because 50 years ago or so, it was quite common for one of a pair of twins to be given for adoption. I really don't know why, but anyway, it was. And there's a whole institute in Minnesota, USA, set up a department of twin research solely concerned with these, because they are actually very useful for medical research to compare the influences of genetics and environment. And quite a lot of useful work has come out of that, but no telepathy. I met one of the twins who'd been there, and they said that they were questioned for about 2 weeks by a team of, I think, 16 psychologists, asked literally thousands of questions about everything from their top of their head to their toenails. And she said the one thing they never mentioned was telepathy, because that's sort of taboo. You know, so scientists just don't talk about that sort of thing. It's just not done.
Another question that was mentioned, or an observation, perhaps you can clear this up for us. Has there been any well-controlled scientific evidence that telepathy is a real phenomenon?
Yes. That's the answer, yes.
Okay. And is that what you've done? Or is that what somebody else has done?
Well, a lot of people have done it. I mean, I can't believe that nobody knows this. I mean, it's I think if you want the easiest comprehensive summary that I know of is the book by Dean Radin, R-A-D-I-N, called The Conscious Universe, where he gives all the results of the meta-analyses, that is, an analysis of all the published analyses. In other words, everything ever published on a certain subject. And the chance, the odds, the probability of chance in the result is something like 1 in 100 billion. You know, I mean, hell, what more do you want?
Yeah, this is it.
So the answer to that is yes.
Okay, and where is your research taking you?
Well, it's strictly speaking not my research, it's Professor Parker's, but I'm acting as a sort of informal consultant, keeping an eye on what he's up to. And we're interested at the moment is in why it is that some identical twins are telepathic and some definitely are not. And I think we've got the beginnings of an answer. It seems to depend on exactly when they become twins. You know, when you have a fertilized egg which divides in the womb, it normally does that quite soon. I mean, about a day or two after fertilization, it splits, and you get 2 little eggs instead of 1.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a bit longer, 4 to 8 days. That's the sort of middle group. And sometimes it takes a very long time, 8 to 12 days. And very rarely, luckily, the eggs do not divide at all, and you get conjoined or Siamese twins, where they're actually literally stuck together.
Yeah.
And mostly they can now be separated, usually. But it's a horrendous business. I mean, I don't like to think about it. So what it looks as though they have done huge surveys in the University of Indianapolis, USA, literally thousands of twins, not mentioning telepathy, of course, because that's not done. But they have found that the later the split, the closer the twins remain throughout their lives. Because some twins become very independent early on. They dress differently. They don't really sort of hang around with each other all that much. And then when they're grown up, they quite often don't have any contact at all. I know at least one pair who are not even on speaking terms. And yet you get others who are very, very closely bonded and just cannot remain apart ever. Sometimes they even share a house, and on one occasion actually get married to twins and all live together. And I don't know if you remember the lively pair of cheeky girls a few years ago. Well, I met them and had an interesting talk with their father, who told me that they were then aged about 22 and already jumping around on the stage and doing their stuff. And the father said that they'd never been separated, they'd never been apart at all, ever, for more than half an hour.
Wow.
So really, I mean, I'd love to have done some experiments with them, but I still hope to, actually, if I don't come across them again, because they were a very bright pair. They were quite intelligent, although you may not have thought it to see them acting. But they were well educated and very charming, and I hope to come across them again, because they're about as close as it gets.
Right. Well, we've got some guys in the hub with us, so they're our guest panel. They're going to ask us some questions as well. First of all, I'm going to go to Martin. So I hope you can hear him okay.
Yeah, it's a bit quiet. Can you turn up your volume at all?
Hi. Do you want to talk now?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, just about, yes.
Hi, speaking about twins in like the early age and people that they tend to stick together. I've recently was on a short trip over at...
sorry, can you get a bit closer to the phone? Talk a bit louder.
Hi, yeah, I was recently on a short break over in North Wales a couple of weeks ago, and talking about seeing twins. We actually, in the space of half an hour, came across two sets of twins, and they were both they must have been in their late 60s, 70s, and that was in the space of 20 minutes in one area.
Goodness.
So how sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Well, yeah, what is the percentage of that sort of thing happening in one area?
Well, there are a lot more twins around now than there used to be. In the 19th century, they were really quite rare, because sadly it was quite common for one or even both of twins to die at birth, and quite often even taking the unfortunate mother with them. So thanks to advances in conventional medicine, the chances of twin survival now are virtually 100%. And the mothers also don't succumb to that fate. So there are an awful lot more around, and then you get all these sort of funny fertility pills and things which cause an increased likelihood of twins. And there are some parts of the world where they seem to be more common than they should be. I mean, there's the London district of Barnes, south of the river, where you see them all over the place. I mean, I really don't know why, but they in my own area of central London, I see them almost every time I go out shopping. They're far more common than they used to be, and hopefully that means that we're going to get more evidence.
Okay, yeah, and these were actually both sets. They weren't each individual set were actually dressed exactly the same as each other. Exactly the same. So we just thought it was a bit of a weird thing to see two sets of twins in the space of 10 minutes in the area of which is a small seaside resort.
No, I think I mean, every time I give a talk, I ask, do we have any twins in the audience? And there nearly always are. I can only remember one recent talk with a big crowd where there wasn't. But there usually is at least one pair. And, they are about one birth in 80 is a twin. They are quite common. Okay. There are thousands of them alive today.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Oh, welcome.
Right, we've got a couple of questions in the chat room for you. We've got one from John, Ghost Rider 2873. He said, is it the firstborn twin that picks up the telepathy, or vice versa?
We don't know that, I'm afraid. Sometimes the actual twins themselves don't know either. Although, again, they are getting better now at recording exactly which one comes first, because it can be quite important for all kinds of practical reasons. To establish one of them has to be older than the other. They don't pop out absolutely side by side.
No,
sometimes it's several hours or even a day, I think, are the longest interval late. So one of them is definitely older. I don't know of any difference in receptivity, although you quite often do find twins who only either send or receive, as it were, and they don't do both. But this is such a new area that we just haven't done that research. I mean, maybe if we get a large enough sample, which is not easy to arrange. I mean, you just can't pick up 100 pairs of twins all any way you like.
No, this is it.
And luckily, my colleague, Professor Parker, has been given access to the King's College Twin Research Unit, which is the largest in the world. With, I think they've now got 11,000 of them. And they are being extremely helpful and cooperative with everything except money, which of course they don't have. So at least that's a very important breakthrough, because it's never happened before at that level. So that's good news, and we will certainly carry on.
Yeah. And
who knows what's going to turn up? I mean, it's very interesting.
Yeah, Rochelle, another question is Rochelle. She said, is it environmental that causes more twins to be born in a specific area?
Well, there are indications, yes. There's one famous part of Nigeria, I think it's amongst the Igbo area, where they have far more than the average. And just the other day I read a story in one of the daily papers about a school in Kent, where they had apparently 16 pairs. Wow. Which is really quite a lot.
Yeah.
So yes, they do cluster for I really don't know why. I mean, it's there's so many aspects of this subject that just have never been studied. So that's one of them that I haven't got around to.
Okay, another question before we go to Chris Andrews here in the hub. Viscount would like to know: is it the same effect for people who've had, say, sex triplets or triplet? Three more than two. Have you ever worked that one out?
Well, when you get multiples, as they're called, they're not generally all identical. With triplets, they tend to be, two of them tend to be identical, and more than that, I just don't know, because they're so rare that I've never come across them. I've never met a quad or a quint or whatever. But triplets, I'm not aware of any research at all that's been done with them, because again, they're quite hard to find.
Yes, I can imagine.
There was a rather silly TV program which, as usual, messed everything up. But they did a so-called experiment where they gave one of them an electric shock and claimed that the other two had picked it up on a polygraph.
A bit drastic.
But if it was true, but then you really can't believe anything you see on TV unless you know everything that went into it. So I don't trust them an inch, really, unless I'm involved myself. Luckily, in the case of Paul McKenna program, I was involved all the way through, and I know that was not faked, and it was absolutely straight. And but I'm afraid some of these other stations get away with murder.
Yes, they do, don't they?
They do.
Right, I'm going to pass you over to Chris Andrews from Club Zero. He wants to ask you a few questions.
Hello there. Hi, good evening, Mr. Playfair. Good evening, Mr. Playfair. Thanks very much for taking the time to speak with us.
Can you talk louder a bit? It's very hard to hear you.
Thanks very much for taking the time to speak to us this evening. Can you hear me all right there, Mr. Playfair?
Well, just. It can shout a bit louder.
How's that, sir?
That's better.
Is that better, sir? Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of my questions is probably based on personalities, in that level, because obviously twins of such nature. Obviously, you can have twins that grow up together and they spend the time together, they share their lives together. But obviously, you have twins who have been separated, let's say at birth, and they have no idea that they're related or they have a twin. And then maybe at some stage in the future, they're reunited at some late stage and they find that they've shared similar experiences in life, let's say, or they've got similar likes, similar dislikes, and things like that. But also, I mean, not just twins, but people who are friends as well, who are not related in any way, shape, or form, who maybe have similar personalities, tend to find, me myself included, seem to find that they share similar things. We turn up on the same night, wearing the same tops, wearing the same. The gentleman who's with me this evening, actually, we bump into each other many a times to find that we've got the same item of probably clothing on and something like that. So, there was a professor, Richard Rose, from Indiana University, who studied he studied personality in more than 7,000 sets of twins.
That's the one I just mentioned just now. Yes,
that's right. Yeah, he believes that maybe environment, as probably was just mentioned a few minutes ago, plays a larger role in the personality and development rather than genetics. So do you think, obviously, because things can happen like a synchronicity, can things happen more? Do you think it could be more along the lines of developing personalities, how people just sort of these things kind of grab the person as an individual?
Well, there was a very good answer given in an interview by Dr. Nancy Siegel, who's one of the leading experts on twins, although she doesn't have any time for telepathy at all, but she certainly knows her stuff about twins. And she was asked, is genetics more important than the environment? And she said they're both important. They're equal. Genetics is more important for certain traits of personality, and the environment is more important for others. So it's not a question of one or the other. It's both. And obviously, if you can't do anything about the genetics, but you can certainly vary the environment. And twins who've been separated at birth and brought up differently give a unique opportunity to study what is genetics and what is environment, because they never had a shared environment.
Well, exactly. See, how I would have thought as well, obviously, when people say, the thought of maybe the environment and rather than genetics, but on that level of things, I would have thought maybe if twins had been separated at birth, say, or one was up for adoption and one spent their time with the parent, and then suddenly they've come to meet up in some path along the time, and they found that they've shared similar experiences. As I said a few minutes ago, obviously they've not been brought up in the same environment, so that would then lead me to think that there'd be some form of genetics maybe obviously involved in there, where obviously because the environments will probably be very different if one's living in Louisiana and one's living in Manchester, United Kingdom, or something like that, but yet they tend to share, let's say, the same likes in music, the same taste in food, the same likes in females or males if they're females, and that type of thing. One might be prone to migraines, the other might be prone to migraines. So obviously the environment would be very, very different for both sets.
Yeah, so, I mentioned a case just now, actually, the two twins who've been studied at Minnesota, whom I met. They were separated at birth and only met each other when they were aged 40. Mm. And they'd never had any experience of telepathy at all, because they said that was the only thing they weren't questioned about at Minnesota. But they have had quite extraordinary coincidences. I think my favorite one was when they both wrote very similar letters to the same women's magazine in the same week, which they luckily kept, and they compared them when they met, and they were almost identical. And they frequently phone each other and say, well, what are you doing? And it's almost invariably what the other one's doing. They're just cooking a certain type of dinner, which is the same as the other one was planning to cook, and this goes on all the time, but they don't actually communicate by telepathy at all.
Yeah. And now I've got Martin back, who's got another question for you.
Okay.
Hello again. The question is regarding the telepathy side of things again. I've got a partner, my wife, been married 20 odd years, and more often than not, it's happened over the last few years. I've actually started conversations off, chatting away, and before I've had chance to carry on with my conversations, she has actually verbally repeated to me what I was about to say, at least 3 or 4 words, maybe more. Can you put any light on that?
Well, it's quite common. It's a question of the intensity of the bond, which I mentioned earlier. When it's strongest of all, I think, with mothers and newborn babies. But that obviously gets very much weaker, whereas the babies grow up, they become more independent, and then they leave home, and they quite often sort of vanish into the sunset. But in the case of twins, they don't. They remain very, very closely bonded throughout their lives, and so do a lot of non-twins. I mean, you can have a friend that you know well, maybe work with, and you get to know exactly what their habits and likes and dislikes are.
Yeah.
And you can have very close what's the word, synchronicities. You don't have to be a twin, but the point about identical twins, or rather maybe 30% of them, is that they have it at full strength. And it lasts longer than even the mother-baby bond, because that as I said, that weakens when the baby grows up, but the twin one doesn't. So they really are the ones to study. That's where it all happens, and luckily that's now what we're doing.
Okay, we're going back for Chris again.
Hi again, sorry me again. I'm very sorry about this. Just another quick one. It's just your thoughts on recently. Myself and my partner, when she's been in another part of the room or something, and what I've actually thought is I've heard her shout, or she said something to me, and I've answered her, giving her the answer to the question that I thought she'd asked me, when in fact she hasn't asked me anything and hasn't spoke, but was thinking it in her mind in another room. But would you, which is we thought, oh, okay, but I've actually physically heard her say these things, whether as though a voice is actually going into my ear, but she's just thought about it, and I've just given her the answer. What would your thoughts on that be?
It's certainly quite common with twins. Yes, they do tune into each other, as it were, and they can quite often say the same thing absolutely simultaneously. And I've seen this done, and it really is quite uncanny. I mean, they sound exactly like a sort of repeated over recording of each other, which would be rather hard to do deliberately, but they just do it. And I remember interviewing a pair of 7-year-olds who were great fun, and they told me about they said, the mother told me that they always have the same dream, which I thought was quite interesting, because I don't know how dreams can be genetically driven.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got these two little tots to tell me about their dream, which they told me absolutely in unison. And it was a really complicated dream as well. I mean, it was quite surrealist. They got into the bus and everybody in it was dead. And the driver said I couldn't get on because he didn't have any money. It was all kind of mixed up, but they all said exactly the same thing. And the mother, who was there, of course, with them, said, "Oh well, they always do that. One of them comes down to breakfast and says, 'Oh, I just had a funny dream.' And then a couple of minutes later, the other one comes down and says, 'Oh, I just had a funny dream.' It's the same one."
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's rather hard to explain by any sort of conventional theory. Although it was actually first reported by John Wesley, who I mentioned earlier, in 1792, I think, in his journal. He met a pair of young women who had identical dreams. He described it quite well. I mean, 20 years ago.
Right. There's a few questions that have been jumping around in the chat room by a couple of people. Basically, what they want to know is, have you ever had any information on twins where one has died, but the surviving one still feels the twin is with them? If so, could it be down to the fact that they share the same soul?
Well, the most famous case of that, of course, was
Elvis Presley.
Yeah, he had a twin.
Yes.
But he still was given a name.
So, turn your mic.
Elvis was very much aware of him all his life.
Yeah.
And was quite upset about it. I mean, he don't have any direct quotes from him, but I have read accounts by people who knew him who said that he was very, very much affected by this loss of his twin. So yes, that is possible.
Right, and one last question on this subject. Have you found any connections between twins and their pets? As in one case that we read, whenever one of the twins has an anxiety attack, the dog of the other twin seems to have a seizure.
Gosh, I've never heard that one, but it's quite possible. I mean, I forgot to mention actually that dogs and their owners are the sort of second closest bond after mothers and babies.
Yeah.
And twins. I mean, they're all those three are the top group. And I'm not really an animal expert, but the accounts that I've heard of particularly dogs, but also other pets as well, knowing what you're thinking and doing, or even about to do, they are quite strange. I mean, even my local robins always seem to know when they're going to come out with a tray of breadcrumbs. They're there already. So I think there's a lot more goes on in nature that we don't really. It's all back to the old problem: is that this kind of thing is taboo. It's just not discussed in polite scientific society. So the research does not get done.
Yeah. Is there more research you're going to do on this? Is this an ongoing thing for you?
Well, as long as I can keep it going. I mean, I've already written up all the research that I've done myself in my book, Twin Telepathy. And if I can find enough to fill another book, I'll do that. In the meantime, I'm cooperating with Professor Parker from Sweden, who is specializing in this area, and in spite of the problems, of course, the big problem is getting finance.
Yes.
You go to a science research council and say you want to research twin telepathy, they just throw you out. They just don't do that.
No,
so far we've all of our experiments have had to be financed by TV companies.
Yes.
Which is very unfortunate, but we have been lucky because especially in one of the best was in Denmark, where the TV is a bit more civilized, and they did an excellent job and got a very good result, but sadly it's never been shown in England. And I also did another one for Richard and Judy, if you remember them.
Yeah.
Which was a great success. That was really quite dramatic, and was shown more or less live as it happened, split screen. So I mean that's the way it's going. If any research body would like to fork out a few million, then we could really get down to it. They just don't do that.
No, this is the thing, isn't it?
They've been brainwashed by all these trendy media skeptics who pop up on the box every day and telepathy is a load of rubbish and so on. And sadly, if you tell the same lie often enough, people will start believing it.
Yeah.
Which is what's happening.
Now, we've got about 10, 15 minutes before we let you go, if that's okay. And I just wanted to brush on the fact that, as I said before at the top of the interview, that you are famous for investigating the Enfield Poltergeist, which you detailed exquisitely in your book, This House is Haunted, which I believe is being re-released, or has been.
Yes, indeed. It's still in print, and the new edition is White Crow Press, which you can catch up with on Amazon.com.
Okay. Could you describe the basic outline of the case, please, for us younger viewers?
Started at the end of August 1977. A family in Enfield, North London, consisting of mother and 3 children. 4 children, one of whom was actually away in a boarding school. It started very quietly, really, with sort of funny noises in the bedroom, which the mother just told them to sort of shut up and go to sleep, and didn't take it seriously. But then on the same night, they started having loud knocks all over the place, not only on the wall and on the bed, but well out of reach of the 2 children who were in that room. And then the mother saw the chest of drawers sliding across the floor, and she thought, well, that's it. And she rushed out of the house next door to a very supportive neighbor who was a builder.
Yeah.
Came in and checked the place out and said there's no mice here and there's no earthquakes going on and so on. This is not normal. And one thing led to another, and they ended up calling the Daily Mirror, which was the only people they knew who might be able to help them.
Yeah.
And the Daily Mirror, to its everlasting credit, called the Society for Psychical Research, which they really didn't have to do, but they did, and it was entirely thanks to them that we got the story, and I got the book. Is
that how you got involved in it?
Yep.
Right.
If it hadn't been for it was one it was the senior reporter, Graham Fallows,
Yeah.
who was sadly now deceased. He was a thoroughly decent fellow, and he was very concerned for the family, and he wanted to help them, which Fleet Street tabloids don't always do. But I think there's a bit of a tradition on the Mirror that they do behave rather better than papers that I needn't mention.
Yeah.
And that is what happened. He called the society himself, and my colleague Maurice Gross, who had only just asked the secretary to let him know if a good case came up near where he lived, North London. So he was actually on the job within about a couple of hours of George's original call. We can't always guarantee that sort of service.
No.
We did on that occasion. It was remarkable, and then he got hold of me, and I joined him about a week later, and realized immediately that this was a pretty unusual case, and we stuck with it for a total of 14 months.
Did you actually witness anything for yourself?
Yes. It would fill a book, and it has. I witnessed, I think I tried to make a list of them once, I think it was about 25 incidents that were absolutely clear and unmistakable. One of the best, I think, was in a broad daylight, where I saw this very heavy armchair slide across the floor backwards and then flip over, which you couldn't do by hand. I mean, it didn't have any legs, and it was flat on the floor. You couldn't get your hand under it.
Yeah.
And to push it over deliberately required a lot of shove. And there was nobody sitting in it, and there were no hidden wires or anything else.
No.
And that happened, and oddly enough, that was identical incident that had been reported before by someone else. So it's that was a good example of something that could not have been faked. Although later on they did start playing a few tricks, but they weren't very good at it.
No, they admitted playing tricks at the
yes.
time, though, didn't they?
Well, yeah, they were hopeless. I mean, on one occasion, I went out to the pub to have a sandwich, and came back and found my tape recorder missing.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, yeah, the ghost took it away." And I thought, "Oh, really?" And I found it quite soon, and it was still running. So, I mean, you know, if you're going to try that trick, I mean, for goodness sake, turn the recorder off, because otherwise it records the evidence.
Did you
hear them saying, "Yeah, let's put this in the cupboard"?
Yeah.
So I just said to them, "Very nice, don't mess around with my tape recorder, please." And they didn't do it again.
Well, that was all right then.
Oh, I didn't take that seriously at all.
No.
I mean, how they were talking to 12 and 13-year-old girls. You don't expect them to behave like a vicarage tea party. I mean, but they were great. I mean, they were very pretty well behaved. They didn't do anything serious. And they've admitted it time and time again that they said they reckon they faked 1 or 2%.
Yeah. And
they always added, "But we always got caught." I mean, we know that, and they know it, and what's the big deal? And all the trendy critics just concentrate on the 2%, and they forget about the 98.
Yeah. Did the incidents become less frequent and gradually stop, or was there an abrupt end to the case?
Well, it was abrupt, but it was a tremendous anticlimax, which is really quite strange, and it's pretty complicated. I can't really summarize it properly here, but it was this Dutch medium, Dono, who came over and said he was going to stop it. And I thought, oh yeah, well, all right, go ahead. And whatever he did, I'm not quite sure, because he was in the room on his own. And whatever he did or didn't do, it did stop. It was really quite bizarre, but that's what happened. That's not the way it happens in the films. I'll tell you, house falling down or something, but it was a tremendous anticlimax.
Yeah. How are the girls today? Do they still experience anything, or is it just memories that have become nightmares?
One of them has vanished without trace. I think she's got married and gone abroad somewhere, and even her sister doesn't know where she is.
No.
The other one, Janice, I met quite recently, and she's happily married with two teenage boys who are both at university and doing very well, but she just doesn't like talking about the poltergeist. She's still a bit, well, I think she still keeps thinking it's going to happen again, and I've told her 100 times that it is not, because she's out of the atmosphere that caused it in the first place. And she's got a very supportive husband and lives a long way from Enfield, and is certainly not going to be contacted by anybody through me. And she's doing all right, thanks. I mean, she absolutely won't do any more publicity after this TV program a couple of years ago. This morning.
I saw that on YouTube.
That was complete shambles.
Yeah.
And that decided, I said, I'm not doing that again. It hasn't. And although I know for a fact that she turned down a very substantial sum for an interview in one of the tabloids, she just said no. And I haven't bothered her since.
No.
Although we do keep in sort of vague. I can still get hold of her, and she knows where I am, and I know where she is. But she quite clearly wants to be left alone.
So, Martin, you got a question on this? He's coming over.
Hello again.
Yes.
Hi. The Enfield ghost story. Was this? Do you think it was related to the property, or possibly the occupants causing this problem?
Oh, definitely the occupants. There's been no trouble there since the Hodgson family moved out. I gather that one of the subsequent residents tried to claim there was, but I don't think anybody believed them. No, this is definitely a person-centered case, which poltergeists almost invariably are, because I've had more than one where it's followed them from one house to another, and as it did in Enfield, indeed, when they quite often sort of escape from their own house and go down the road to their uncle's house just 6 doors down.
Okay. And
things would happen there, and on one memorable occasion, they were actually happening in both houses. Quite hard to keep up with, but they were. So it's centered on the person and not the building.
So, in your own opinion, the story you told before regarding the armchair being dragged across the floor, what could you put any light on what you think was actually doing that? I always say it's poltergeist. What's your views on that sort of thing happening?
Boy, that's the big question. I mean, the way I look at it is that poltergeists do things that we can't do. There's no question about that at all. I mean, they can, for instance, cause a heavy cushion to turn up on the roof where there was a man walking along the pavement in full view who said, no, they did not open the window, they did not lean out, nobody saw it, it just was there from one frame to the next, as it were. And then we had the lollipop lady across the road who gave an extremely clear description of seeing the youngest girl levitating, floating up and down. And she must have been at least 2.5 feet in the air for her to have been seen from the road.
Yeah.
So these things do happen, I'm afraid, but people have a kind of curious way of shutting them out of their minds, and if they know that it can't have happened, then they can't sort of accept the fact that it did. But when you get a really credible witness, the lollipop lady was a particularly good one. In fact, she still is. Bless her, she's still on the job. And the tradesman who saw the cushion, he just won't talk about it. He was reduced to a state of gibbering terror. I mean, he said it was the most extraordinary thing he'd ever seen, and he didn't like to think about it.
The chat room's going abuzz with questions upon questions, and as I said to you, the Enfield Ghost is quite popular with our show. So hopefully we can get you on another time and maybe talk about that. There is 1 or 2 questions that have been thrown in. Can you explain how an energy can follow you, i.e. is it an attachment? Do you think that poltergeists are disembodied energy possibly from people or an entity?
Well, that's the big argument, of course. It's very unfashionable to talk in terms of discarnate entities, but yes, I do think that there's a component, because if you try to argue the thing logically, if they do things that humans can't do, which they certainly do, for instance, make a solid object go through a brick wall, which I have actually seen. Well, I didn't see it go through, but I saw it appear in mid-air in front of my nose, when I know that it had previously been the other side of the wall, and it was still wet. It had been in the bathroom. So, what am I supposed to conclude? I can't do that. No human being could do that. I don't think even the most brilliant magician could do it either. Not under the conditions in which I observed it. I've actually consulted a total of 4 magicians.
Yeah. So do you think
they've all said, in effect, if it happened the way you described it, I've got no explanation.
Do you think it's a physical attachment or a mental one?
Sorry, what?
Do you think that the attachment can be either physical or mental?
Oh dear, I really.
Or a bit of both, maybe.
I'm going to work that out. We really don't know why people get attacked by poltergeists and why it's so rare, because it is incredibly rare, luckily. I'd hate to think what would happen if it was more common. We do get reports at the Society for Psychical Research all the time, I mean, mostly from Africa and India and South America seems to be the hot spots, and it's always the same kind of phenomena. But no, the whole subject is a total mystery. It has been for more than 2,000 years. The first really well-researched case dates from the 6th century. I mean, it's an ongoing enigma. I'm afraid it's still ongoing. We just don't know.
So, can I just ask, as I say, they're all buzzing now with questions about the Enfield Poltergeist. So, as I say, hopefully we can get you back on to talk about that another time. But where have you found your research leading you recently? And do you have any more books in the pipeline?
Oh, well, not immediately. I'm working on a kind of encyclopedia for the Society for Psychical Research,
right,
which has got rather fed up with all the lies being told by Wikipedia about parapsychology, and we've decided to do our own. And that's going to be quite a job. I think that's very important. To set the record straight so that people can tune in and get the facts instead of the distortions which you get on Wikipedia.
Do you remember that?
Well,
but you never know.
Yeah.
I might do another book one day, but
as I say, time is fleeting. I don't really want to keep you any longer than we intended. I just want to say thank you. It's been great having you on, sir. And as I say, I do hope we can get you back on to talk about the Enfield Poltergeist in more detail.
That should be all right. Not exactly every day, but now and then.
Yeah, that'd be fine. I'll contact you in due course about another date. But I'd like to wish you all the best best of luck in the future, and I look forward to following your continued research.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay, it's been very nice talking to you, sir. Thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure.
Cheers.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
What a conversation.
Lovely gentleman.
Yeah, well, Guy, what do you think?
Lovely gentleman.
He was a very nice gentleman,
He was
wasn't
nice. He was.
I'm sorry, guys. You all started coming in with questions. I tried so hard to ask them for you, but as I say, we got onto the subject of the Enfield Ghost a bit later than I anticipated. I didn't expect it to all go alike with questions, so I hope I managed to ask as much as I could. But like he said, he would let us ring him back again sometime and talk prolifically on the Enfield Ghost, which I think could be a good.
It's a massive subject.
It is a subject.
Yeah, it's a massive subject. It concerns every all the paranormal investigators out there.
Oh yeah.
I've recently in the last 18 months, back to the block where the Enfield ghost,
No.
in Gorton took place.
No, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong story.
That's the wrong story.
Enfield is outside of London.
It's in
I
London.
don't know. I'm talking about
No,
You're
ignore Martin. He went asleep. For
I
5
went to
minutes.
sleep for about 10 minutes.
about the Gorton
I'm
case.
totally confused.
Michelle said you got to keep your arm down, Dad.
No, it's not me. He's a dad.
Oh, you, Dad.
Something I don't know about this, is it?
You, Dad, keep your arm down.
Listen, Michelle, I've told you before, Chuck. We just keep the game away.
Emma's.
Oh, it's Emma's arm.
I think that's when Martin was over here at the side of you talking at the microphone and he had his arm up there. That's Michelle. I was going to say to him, your guest,
I didn't want to keep him as longer than I should have done. You know what I mean?
I think there's less reports of poltergeist activity today. In Gorton,
yeah.
Well, you keep away from my daughter, Rochelle.
Go on, Chris.
There seems to be less reports today, in this day and age, of poltergeist activity than what there was, previous years gone by. But then, obviously, years gone by, people would have more abstruse beliefs, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
They'd been more superstitious. They'd be more. There's devilry at work, and there's this, that, and the other at work, and there's the black magic at work, and you're in league with the demons and the familiars. And in today's society, as we've progressed in today's society, our beliefs and our cultures have changed. And I think as we've changed and developed, so has the identification of the reports of poltergeist phenomena. Not saying that it doesn't occur or people don't report it, because they still do.
Oh, yeah.
What I mean is the amount of reports seem to have dropped from million. Now, is this because poltergeist, maybe a lot of poltergeist activity is a drawn-in conclusion from our own perceptions of how things were years gone by, and we've developed and we've learned to sort of accumulate that and change, or and maybe that's what covers most of the poltergeist cases, where there is a small element of genuine cases that go unwarranted. Because obviously, I don't believe every poltergeist case is a poltergeist case.
No. See, the other theory is, where poltergeists are concerned, is it's supposed to happen more around where there's quartz and lime, you know what I mean, in the area, from what I've heard. You know what I mean? So I wanted to ask him if he knew about anything concerning.
You could be on all night talking to him just about different things, can't you?
It is
puberty and all the adolescence and all that sort of
and
thing.
what actually causes it, you know what I mean? And but I was saying I didn't want to keep him longer than I should have done. But
I think you're good to get him to come back again.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody will be in for that, because I think you'd probably be the whole show all night talking on that level.
Yeah. So,
on that.
But as I say, most of the guests don't really like to be more than an hour, which you can understand. So, but as I say, it is a phenomenon, isn't it? That Enfield Ghost is the one, isn't it? It's like the pinnacle that's up there, and then everything else follows it. Don't you agree, Martin?
It is there at the moment.
Mike?
What I was talking about earlier on, I totally got confused.
You're on about Gorton one?
Yes.
Go on then, tell us about the Gorton.
Well, should I or should I not?
Yes, because I don't know about it.
Well, the Gorton Poltergeist, again, was a big storyline. I think it was in the 70s, wasn't it? You can put it on YouTube.
One of our members lives in the house.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and it again was things, TVs being moved, babies being taken out of the cot and getting wedged behind the back of the cot, which it physically couldn't have done itself.
Yeah.
Other things, light switches going off. A lot of, generally like the Enfield one, but not so much as people levitating and moving around. It was more objects.
Yeah.
And me and Emma went and had a nosy around there about 18 months ago now, probably a bit longer than that. And I went off on my own one day and I tracked the house down, because you couldn't see the block, because what we were going off, I didn't have a name of the street. We were trying to use Google Maps and the video at the same time, bit of detective work, trying to hunt the block down, because it was all boarded up, the whole block. But eventually I got to find it, and the houses that were involved, I cannot remember the name of the street, but it was houses 24 and 26. It was a case of, I spoke to the occupants in there, and they said no, nothing whatsoever has happened to them while they've been in this house.
Really?
Well, I speak to the current person who lives, the person who actually lives there now. She's obviously on our Facebook page, and I've spoke to her recently, and she lives there, and she, with a child. Excuse me, and she still says that even to this day, she's not the person that was there in the day of the poltergeist case. But even to this day, well, she's fully aware of it, of course she is. But she still experiences, certain things that go, even to this day, certain things that go on. A I think like doors opening or cupboard doors banging or certain things like that. To the extent of what she encounters, I'm not too sure because it was just a quick chat online. But nonetheless, she still says that these things do go on, So obviously, we might even arrange to pop up and have a look at it.
These people I spoke to, it was a coloured gentleman at the time that I spoke to, so they've maybe moved out for whatever reason. And let's say this friend, one of our team members, lives there now. So I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with female or not male.
PJ's put the name of the road up, which I'm not going to mention, okay, just in case people go there.
Viscount's made the point that 98% of documented cases of poltergeist activity only seem to occur around adolescent females. So we asked the question, why females?
Why females?
Well, exactly.
Why not adolescent boys?
But then again, going on the subject of things being moved around, when I was a child, nothing actually happened to me, but my grandparents lived over by the Clough, Boggart Old Clough. Now there is
supposed to be something now.
there is a little
try to
myths and that going about round there. They're called boggarts, these little creature things supposedly. You can't supposedly see them all the time, but I don't know. So
they elementaries or something.
They've had stuff in their house disappear and reappear somewhere completely different, maybe a couple of weeks later. The best story was they had a cuckoo clock type with a swinging pendulum on the wall.
Yeah.
It fell off the wall. Went down behind the settee. My granddad got up and went to pick it up, and it wasn't there. It vanished completely. Moved the sofa out of the way, completely gone. And then about 3 months later, it reappeared somewhere else in the living room. And it was only him and my grandma at the time that were. I think I've got this right. That were in there in that room. There's nobody else there to mess around.
No.
But these are called boggarts supposedly, like say elementals or whatever they are.
Yeah, Chris is going to try and answer a question there in a minute. But what is a boggart? I mean, the only to our younger listeners, the only thing we got a boggart is what turned up on Harry Potter.
Yes.
As in what's it called?
That thing that makes Harry something else.
Yeah.
Aliosis suspenders. No, suspenders. Oh, sorry, it's the wrong one.
Stop it,
It's the wrong one, that, isn't it? Shapeshift.
Ridiculous.
As in Dobby.
No, you might not have seen
Dementors and things like that.
They can turn into anything that you fear to scare you, basically.
Well, who knows?
Isn't it?
Well, it's a shapeshifter then.
Yeah.
But these things, like I say, there's a few people I've heard, and that is a myth that's been going around for that area. They're supposed to live in the Clough itself.
Yeah.
Some people even said they've seen them and they look like little trolls.
I'm looking at one.
Well, on here, I've just Googled it, and it says boggart is one of the numerous related terms used in English folklore for either a household spirit or a malevolent genius loci inhabiting fields, marshes, and other topographical features.
It's northern next.
So
there you go.
So that would be a question for our Irish friend then.
Yes, it would, wouldn't it?
I can't remember his name.
Ronan.
Yes.
And for your poltergeist, sorry.
Go on.
For your poltergeist, people say, whoever said, I mean, there's a one theory, I'm not saying that it's a correct theory, but it's certainly a theory that can't be ignored, I think, anyway, is, when people say, well, why would they be more prone to like young adolescent females, and more females rather than young guys, lads, or something on that level. I mean, obviously, poltergeists, I mean, they're not as popular these days, like we've just been saying a moment ago, as, and most of poltergeist activity will go back to folklore anyway, and urban legends and folklore. So obviously the poltergeist itself would be more of an ancient, it wouldn't be a modern day type of, suddenly just someone's just passed away or whatever, so they were poltergeist. It'd be an age-old thing, from way back in ancient. And obviously, as time went by, earlier days, the women was always a weaker sex anyway. In them days, no disrespect to any females today. Not in this day and age, but you got to go back. Women was put to, in rituals and sacrifices. So was men as well at some stages, but a lot of tribes, a lot of beliefs. Women used to have to be seen and not heard and things. They was classed as the weaker sex, before they could vote. But then you got to go way back before all them times. It was a man's world. There was the weaker sex. You will do my bidding. So therefore, they could be more manipulatable. Manipulated, into and coerce into different things. And obviously they was described as being weak, and so that their fears would be carry more anxiety with them. So therefore they would be, to an ancient type of spectral phenomena, they would be the prime target. They would say, well, you're weaker, you will carry my my persona and entity or whatever, and that's what they'd be targeted. But what they don't realise today is that women aren't as weak as what they was once led to be. Today they're strong fighters. Women, they're stronger than a lot of men.
Yeah, I live with one.
Well, they are. They're strong. I mean, I couldn't give birth, not without mourning about it. So they're strong, and this is why
say the amount of pain that a woman gets when they give birth. By all accounts, they shouldn't be able to take that.
No,
it's way above what the human being should be able to take, and yet they still get through it.
Yeah.
And
half the time, once they've gone through all that pain, they scream and shout. They can't even remember half the time what it was like afterwards.
And it's always your fault.
Yeah, of course.
You saying about them not being so popular these days makes me wonder whether it's more about our changing beliefs.
You're right, because
before we didn't know as much. Now we do. It's not classed as poltergeist anymore. It's classed as something else.
One of the big surges in paranormal, I think, these days is more spiritual aspects. More people are interested in the medium sides of things and spiritual side of things. People do come across and say, well, my home, I believe my home is haunted. A lot more people will also think, more or less every person that we near enough come across believe it's an evil entity of some form, rather than sitting there and thinking, well, it could be good. Now, there's different reasons for that, because obviously if somebody could be telling these people that you've got some dark matter or energy going on in your home, or whatever the case is. But then another reason could be,
it plays on the mind, doesn't it?
Exactly. We know that I'm in my home, something's going on in here, because it's unnatural. We say it's unnatural, but who's to say it's unnatural? It might be a natural process, but humanity says it's unnatural. Yeah. So therefore, it's a frightening aspect, and anything that's frightening is evil if it's going to make you scared.
Yeah. I think Viscount's trying to get you in trouble, Chris. He says, so you're saying women are not as strong-willed as men, Chris?
They're nearly as strong as you there, Viscount. I think it's his birthday tomorrow. I think it's his birthday tomorrow. I shall send him a card. Women are very strong in this day and age, Mr. Viscount, and in their own right, they always have been. And I
think women are mentally stronger than we are.
They are, very much so.
More than anything else. I mean, that is changing nowadays, because women can be just as physically strong these days. Not all of them.
I still won't let one drive my car, though.
That's just that's just.
No, you probably find that they'll probably drive your car better than you do.
No, they are. They're very. I mean, everything's equal. Women fought hard to get the equal, right?
And the Viscount said, yes, it is his birthday tomorrow.
I know.
I've got. I don't know. Do you want to do the what's on before I ask the next question?
Yes, I will do.
Oh, where you going?
But talking about the hello.
Mike turned his mic off.
We're being haunted. We're having poltergeist phenomena going on.
Talking about the man against woman. Mandy Lee,
I don't want to go there.
actually was wondering why there wasn't any women on Bears Grylls Island. Yeah. And according to one of the producers, this is why. Women are absent from the island, not because they are incapable, but because they are so capable. Women are stronger, more independent, and more self-resilient than they have ever been, and this is why changing gender dynamics is fascinating in a fascinating way.
Also, if you put a couple of women in amongst 30 men on an island, that would be it would cause
totally different
chaos.
Program.
It would cause chaos.
Totally different program. Yes.
I don't know. Right, we're going to take a break and wish Viscount a very happy birthday for tomorrow. And I'll probably see you two in a bit. If you want to have a quick break, Chris.
Emma's correct. Am I off?
Emma's Chris.
Yeah, well, she just clarified it there, because I think Viscount thought that I was saying, looking at that there, saying that I was trying to say that women aren't as strong as men. But Emma's just corrected exactly what I meant.
Yes.
Was in the past how they was perceived.
Okay.
My dear Viscount, birthday boy.
Okay. So we'll see you in a minute then, guys, if you want to go and have a quick break.
Have a quick smoker.
The Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Services Ghost Store is a one-stop shop for all of your ghost hunting gadgetry needs. Run by ghost hunters for ghost hunters, the shop is filled with all of the latest in investigation equipment, shipped in from all around the world, from high-quality digital dictaphones to EMF pumps, infrared illuminators to laser grid pens, CCTV equipment to data loggers. All of our equipment has already been imported, so you can buy it safe in the knowledge that there will be no hidden costs. And with our postage promise, you'll never pay more than the actual postage price. So visit www.the-pigs.co.uk/ghost store.
We've got all the news right here. Don't go away.
Fed up of wading through the activities and events that other advertisers include? Find just what you're looking for at paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory. Yeah, and first off the cab off the rank, we've got on the 14th and 15th of June, there's a Derby MBS at Pride Park Stadium in Derby. You can find everything there from tarot readers, Reiki healers, stalls to sell gothic stuff and everything. So, go along and have a look if you're in the area. On the 28th of June to the 5th of July, there's a course being run of mediumship development down at the Arthur Findlay College, and it's being run by Tony Stockwell and tutors Helen DeVita and Jose Goschalk, if that's pronounced right. This very experienced team of tutors are on a mission to help you become the best demonstrating medium you can be, and you can find out more about that on paranormaleventsforyou.com. And find the link for that. On the 28th of June, the old police cells in Brighton, finally commissioned in the 1960s. The old police cells of Brighton were used as a council storage facility. Now the location is open to the British Brighton Police Museum and is home to several artefacts relating to the police force and the cells. So you can find out more about that at Pigs, which is www.the-pigs.co.uk. And on the 28th of June, the D-Day Tunnels. This is one I've not heard of before. You can join Compass Paranormal team and medium Kevin Bowden on this paranormal investigation into the underground headquarters that was built in 1942 as a naval command centre. This is at Fort Southwick in Portsmouth. The UGHQ, known today as Churchill's D-Day Tunnels, are situated on Portsdown Hill, 100 feet beneath Fort Southwick, a large 19th century Palmerston fort. There are over 100 rooms in the tunnel complex, and it was fully functional with offices, dormitories, latrines, telecommunications, etc. And it was utilised during World War II's Operation Overlord as the main communications centre used by the Royal Navy, the Royal Air Force and the British Army, with its intelligence and other covert units to plot the progress of the Allied troops during the invasion of Normandy on D-Day and throughout the remainder of the war. So as I said, you can find out more about that at compassparanormal.co.uk. Don't forget, them 3 British top mediums, well-known mediums, are scanning the country with their tours. You've got the 2014 Enlightenment Tour with Derek Acora. You can find out more at derekacora.com. And Tony Stockwell, you can find out where he's performing at tonystockwell.com and click events. And Colin Fry's Voices from Heaven Tour 2014. An evening of clairvoyance with living TV's psychic medium Colin Fry. As one of the country's most well-known and respected mediums, Colin continues his countrywide tour of the UK. So you can find out more at colinfry.co.uk. So check out the one-stop paranormal directory for more investigations and events, available now. ParanormalEventsForYou.com also offers banner advertising for only £10 per year.
See our website for more details. ParanormalEventsForYou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory.
Yeah, well, that was the events coming up for the rest of the month. Don't forget, you can advertise if you are part of a team on ParanormalEventsForYou.com. Please remember, collaboration, not competition, which is what we always say. Don't put your prices, just put a link to your website, and you must have a website, not a Facebook group. Okay, and we've got Steve back. The guys are doing their thing out the back, probably playing with the dog again.
They were so busy arguing about who was going to make the coffee. It took them too long to light the cigarettes up, and I ended up making it myself.
Have you got your mic back on?
Yes, it's back on, I think.
Right.
Nope.
Go on then. Speak.
Up.
There you go. It was back on. I was hoping not to do cracking, but never mind. Well, talking about cracking, the Viscount said it's been a cracking show tonight. He's fully enjoyed it. Well, I hope you're not the only one that's enjoyed it. I hope everybody else has. And it was a subject I never knew about, I'll be honest with you. Obviously, we knew that there was some sort of connection between twins, didn't we? We've heard so many stories about, there was one that was mentioned earlier. For instance, I can't remember who it was, but see if I can find it. Where somebody was getting pains or something, and then she found out that it was a sister that got killed in a
car crash.
No, in a plane crash or something. You know, they'd heard something about that.
Yeah, I read one as well. That's a similar one that a sister had been in a car crash, but fortunately, her sister didn't actually die on that one.
I've become a grommet.
You're a grommet?
Yeah.
Why are you a grommet?
It says cracking show, grommet.
We'll get him later.
Yes, we'll get him later. So I must admit, as I say, it's not all ghosts and stuff like that. You know, as I say, the paranormal is one great big field, and it covers a vast topic. It's just an umbrella, really, for other topics. You know what I mean? And because you've got, as I said before, you've got UFOs, and sometimes people say that there's been ghost sightings when there's been UFO sightings. There's been UFO sightings when there's been cryptozoology sightings.
Bigfoot.
And stuff like that. And unexplained mysteries. Yes, we do end up going into conspiracy theories now and again, whether they be right or wrong and cause disruption. But that's what it's all about. It's not something that we always, it's one that comes out once in a blue moon. But as I say, supernatural, unexplained, mysteries. It's one vast topic, isn't it? Really, and we need to cover them all. And what I always say is, you can't be into the paranormal if you're not into everything else, some way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? If you say, I think it was Chris that I was talking to, or Steve Mera, somebody said, are you into the paranormal? And they said, yes, I like ghosts. I'm into ghosts. And he said, no, are you into the paranormal? You know what I mean?
Yeah, he said ghosts and UFOs, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's only one small part of anything.
Precisely.
Everything seems to be linked anyway. So if you're into one, then you have to be into the others.
Yeah.
They're all pieces of the same puzzle, really, aren't they?
Sure about that. Not sure about what, Andy, that you've got to be linked into the other. So, but it does all come part and parcel to the other things. Obviously not conspiracy theories and stuff, but
yeah, I get confused.
Why?
What's the difference between paranormal and supernatural? I mean, to me, supernatural is a TV program. So what's supernatural?
Well, it's supposed to be all gothic-y and whatever, and shapeshifters and stuff like that, isn't it? So
extreme, I don't know, something that's above normal, that's normally found in nature, I suppose.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's like Mark's group, preternatural. Why can't they just say it's bloody paranormal, please?
Well, this is
and
it.
Stop making up names.
Read my comments, Steve. Which one?
Which one?
You've just said. You've just put
right.
a whole load there.
He said ghost equals supernatural. Paranormal is far wider.
loves these conspiracy theories.
He does.
I'm very interested in the occult, but only certain parts.
Yeah, para above.
Para's as far wider. Yeah.
Yeah, above normal.
I can't see anything else there. Supernatural beyond.
Right. Okay,
Super beyond.
Supernature.
Okay, so it would seem you were right, Emma. Paranormal is above, and supernatural is beyond that.
Is beyond. Beyond normal. So, okay, are you happy now, Andy 707?
It's just scary stuff.
Well,
Come on, guys.
We're waiting for the boys to come back.
Yes.
They're probably having a conversation with themselves.
Yes, can't have conversations with themselves. Can you go and give them a clip round the ear, Emma?
I will.
So, well, we did say it was relaxed, and your point was what? What he's on about, Andy?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
As in, it may be explained.
I see. So if it's supernatural, it may be explained.
Yes.
Paranormal is not.
That's correct.
Right,
So
okay. I was getting brainwaves earlier this week,
was you?
and I had a thought.
Oh, careful.
Yeah, I didn't quite get the headache, but as soon as the guys come back in, I will put it to everybody and see what they think.
Well, while we're waiting, the plan next week, is that we've got Joanne Summerscale and Mike Smith on the show via Skype. They run an organisation called AMASH, Anomalous Mind Management Abductee Contactee Helpline. So we're going all UFOs
so we're
next week.
going UFO next week.
Yeah.
Your infestation is gone.
Oh,
Poltergeist,
I see.
yeah, it's gone. All I can say to you now, Steve and Suzanne, is this house is clean.
Right.
My apologies.
Okay.
Right.
As I was saying, brain started working during the week, and I had a thought. Yes.
That's dangerous.
It was dangerous. I didn't quite get the headache, but I'll put it out for you what I thought. Now, we all agree that we're all energy, yeah? Everything is energy.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? Can't be...
I've just run out of energy.
Yeah, can't be destroyed, yeah? It's
infinite.
Yeah, it's infinite. So, I was thinking, when we're reborn, as they say, we are parts of energy. So, could it be that all this past life stuff is not actually a past life, but remembrance of what's in that energy, which would explain why there's so many Cleopatras, because we're all getting bits of different bit.
Like a replay of past events.
So like you've got a piece of energy in you that was King Tut, but so was Martin.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you were King Tut or he was. Just that one piece of energy that's come together to make you.
Shared memories, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the cashed it records.
So could that be an explanation of past life?
Well, that's a very good concept, because energy is energy, isn't it? So, I mean, does it have to be related, like you just said? Does energy have to be related to one thing in particular? You know, you can plug a plug into that plug socket over there and draw energy, take it out and plug, into another plug socket. But it doesn't mean so them currents might come from the same place, but they're not this. It's not coming from the same terminal, is it?
No.
If you think about it, the whole human population, if you want to think about it that way, is one large battery.
Yeah.
Just different. It's one large battery made up of millions of cells.
Yeah, a collective consciousness, as Andy says.
You can look at it that way.
Andy's into past life, so I don't know whether he wants to pop in and just tell us his version. But
he hasn't got time to. I said about him telling us about the poltergeist, and he said he hasn't really got time, but he will come on and tell us.
Yes. Well, he's saying. Let me get this right, Andy. Are you saying that Steve's totally 100% right about, for instance, Chris has got a little bit of King Tut, and maybe Martin's got a little bit of King Tut? Not that they have. Now he's going all Matrix on us.
You might have, yes.
I've always felt a kind of royal sensation.
It's a collective unconsciousness, totally. So he seems to be agreeing with what you've been talking about.
Well, if you think about species and their behavioural patterns and how it's like a genetic memory. Mm-hmm. So like animals know how to is it like a salmon from upstream, or it's like an instinct.
Cows know when it's going to rain.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it's like a genetic, it's inbuilt instinct of how they operate.
It's like
women know when you come home drunk.
Yeah, it's like migrations, don't they?
Yeah,
they all know exactly where they're going. I mean, obviously every now and again you get one that doesn't for some reason. But yeah,
like an
from evil.
instinct. Things happen on instinct.
There's in Rochdale at the moment. There's a pair of peregrine falcons.
All right.
Every year for the last 5-6 years, they come to the same place every single year, and they're there now, right on top of the cathedral in Rochdale. If we go there on a Monday afternoon, you can see them perched on the top, male and female.
Remember,
and that's happened for years.
You heard that first on the KTPF.
You tell me. There's a homing thing there, so that where it's either familiarisation with it with chicks, and that's the chicks that have come back to the same place, or it's still the adults that are coming back to the same place. But they're there without fail every single year.
By accounts, he's actually correct there. With he's put, when batteries lose energy in life, we grow old and slow down. But what I think there, just to that, if I might just say, I think our bodies grow old and slow down. Yeah, but the energy, because how many times do we actually say, like you still feel like you can do these things that you used to do when you was 18?
I feel like 25, but I'm 50 odd or whatever.
Sometimes you feel like
I'm not, by the way.
Well, you look it. You look 25. I mean, you look. I'm repeating myself there. I mean, there is things that you think, oh, I can't do that, and you do physically feel knackered and run out of energy and think, things like that. Because I do all the time. But that's because I think it's our body's limitation as it's growing old, and things like that. Because your mind, if you was to assume that your mind was the vortex where the power actually is all emanated from, let's say the energy is all focused from, because obviously your thought patterns and everything come from within the mind, which is separate entity from the brain anyway within itself. And so you still tend to sit there and think, but I want to do this and I want to do that, but my body won't allow me to do it. So you get up and go hasn't always got up and gone. No. It's there, but your body just says no, not computer says no. So in respect to what Viscount just says there, he's right. Yeah, we do slow down, but does the energy and the thought? Because our thoughts do deteriorate, our minds do deteriorate, but that's because our brains and it's the organic matter.
It works.
That starts to do. Yeah. The organic matter we can't process things like we used to do. But if the energy itself is released, who knows?
Well, we all have an inner core. Yeah, we all have an inner core in our bodies, and I think it's a case of the older you get, the core stays exactly where it is. It just hasn't got that oomph in it anymore to make it go out to the places where it's needed.
Yeah.
If you've got a car, and your car battery's dying, you take that car for a run, it charges the battery back, doesn't it? It puts charge back
until you switch something on that needs that power and drags it straight back out again.
But it keeps that car motoring for what you need, for the purpose what you need. You know what I mean? And it's like the things that we do. We can sit here now and say, well, I'm knackered, and our bodies are physically drained, and we can't do the things. But if we if we changed some of our life, around our life, let's say we changed our eating habits, we took exercise, we tend to find suddenly, even because you get men at 80 plus years of age jogging, marathon, doing things that a 25-year-old can't do it.
I definitely
exactly. And you can't.
State I'm in.
So, and me as well, I can't do it. But if we suddenly said, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to start going on a healthy diet, I'm going to start doing this, that, and the other, we'll find that we can do a little bit more than what we do now because the energy is there. It's just that we can't adapt to it.
Andy's saying that our bodies break down matter and absorb the energy. The synapses, if you spelt that right and I've pronounced it right, starts to fail. Emma's just said, only so many times can we regenerate until cells become damaged.
But that's all cells.
Yeah, and
body.
Agrees with that.
Yeah, but at that point you're talking about cells which...
Like brain cells and stuff.
Yeah, but the cells are only the container, they're not us.
Exactly, yeah. But it's just a vessel. I mean, like ghostly activity is not the body.
When you start talking about a core, are you then talking about the soul? If it exists?
Well, does the soul exist? That's another one. If you say that if certain photography, if people the second somebody dies, if you can take a snapshot, the split second that person dies, the heart stops. So they say there is a photographic.
21 grams.
Well, it has been done. The weight has been done.
Well, that's right.
Yeah, 21 grams.
The photographic. What's the word I'm looking for?
Are you looking at?
No, it's supposed to have been snapped as in pictures. There's a certain thing I've heard. I'm sure I've seen it on some program somewhere. There's equipment that they've used. The minute a person has died, this camera's taking this shot, and supposedly they have seen something leaving the body.
Yeah.
Now, how that's probably, how far fetched that is, I don't know.
Curlian photography.
Yeah.
Curlian.
Yeah, Curlian.
Well, there you go. I couldn't think of the name. I've just been told it's Curlian photography, apparently.
DJ's put it on.
Yeah. So,
but it's all it's a good subject, I think, actually, to talk about, because it is.
But Andy just said, "Oh my God, what a subject to start now."
Well, yeah, I mean, because this time.
What I mean, this is what I was saying earlier. You start with one subject, and it just
snowballs.
It does, and it's
that's the paranormal for you.
Well,
I tell you what, I've just sold past life regression. I'll think about souls next week. See if I can solve that one for you.
But as I say,
the paranormal leaves you down so many paths, and if the paranormal is virtually unknown, but we always associate the paranormal with death and supernatural and things that go beyond death. And the paranormal actually can exist in life. This thing as well.
I mean,
living aspect.
Mike House just said it's very similar to scientists cutting a leaf.
Yeah.
Having said that, I was reading earlier that a scientist actually connected what do you call it? The truth thing. Polygraph to a plant, and the plant actually showed distress when he was thinking about cutting a leaf. Not actually doing it, but
they say if you talk to a plant, it'll grow faster than if you don't talk to it. Stick it in a corner and leave it, and if you chat away to it every day, and this, that, and the other, supposedly the plant will get healthy and grow faster.
A teacher put a picture on Facebook, funny enough, of two plants grown at the same time. One was without care, because she was teaching about caring and hate, basically. They all cared for one of the plants. They left the other one alone. And it just wilted. You know what I mean? But the other one, they talked to it.
When you say left alone, I mean they still watered it and that.
Yeah, but they didn't. That was just it.
They didn't show it any care.
No, they didn't show it any care or anything.
There was a story as well. Now, I don't know how much truth's in the matter, but there was a story, and I'm sure people might have heard it, or they might not have heard it, when somebody actually committed it was a murder, I think it was a crime or something, and there was a plant there, and the person got put away. Now, like I say, it's a story. The credibility of it, I'm not too sure, but the person actually got put away and was convicted on the evidence. The people kind of come mad.
The plant gave
evidence of a plant.
Of a plant.
Stood on the dock.
Now, the reason how it was done apparently was that the scientists had wired this up by something, and they measured the vibrations when people came into that room. Like where this person was allegedly killed, and people came into the room, and when this certain person came into the room, the vibrations that this plant gave off was completely different to when anybody else anybody else came into the room.
Picked up on what it had done.
So that type of thing. So I mean, like I said,
so what you're saying is basically the plant showed fear.
Yeah, it basically showed fear on that level of things. So it recognised, or allegedly recognised the person that came in, or maybe the sound tones from that person. I mean, I don't know if they've got eyes and they can actually see, but I mean, or the vibrations. Plants might pick up on vibrations, but allegedly, anyway, that's a story that was made available not too long ago. But the actual thing that's supposed to have happened some while ago.
I'm not sure how a court in the land would get away with believing that. I mean, you'd be getting in there and saying I want a retrial straight away, wouldn't you?
Well, that's it. Like I said, I mean, like looking on this, people going, well,
they were saying that
exactly.
If you believe in EMF, you believe in auras, because scientifically they're one and the same.
The fact is, I mean,
and we all have this.
Yes, we do.
Every living thing has an aura.
In the paranormal field, we can't. I mean, we can't turn around and say yes, this is definite. We can't turn around and say no, that's definite, because if we say yes, this is how things are,
it's finished,
or no, then no. What we're doing, we're tending to say, we're putting a label on things. We're putting a cap on things.
And the moment you do, somebody will come in and go, no, you're wrong.
Well, exactly, but we should be open to the things that you should be open to is the possibility. And so you have to analyse these things and think, well, that it sounds ridiculous, and however ridiculous it sounds, you're going to think about this and think, well, could it be? Because there's many things. I mean, a few hundred years ago, when somebody, someone says, I'm going to invent the aircraft, and someone said that's an impossibility. It looks so stupid, it's ridiculous. They put a label on that and said, man can't fly. The label was bang on, but mankind did, and what mankind do, we have a habit of proving ourselves wrong. we can't afford to say yes or no. We have to say, well, could it be a possibility? And while there's that possibility, that gives us that spark why we carry on doing what we do in the first place.
Well, they've also said that man could never breathe underwater without breathing apparatus. Now, they've actually designed something, read it quite a few months ago. It's an injection, basically, that they inject into the bloodstream, and it oxygenates the blood.
Yeah.
And it's been supposedly trialled with the Navy SEALs, where they've been oxygenated with this certain chemical. And I find it hard to believe, but I've read it. Well, you know what newspapers are like. They were able to breathe underwater for 20 minutes. So they've oxygenated the blood that high that they were these. It was trialed. It was in the newspaper. And
yeah. If you think about it, we can anyway. Yeah, we did. I mean, if you put a newborn baby in a swimming pool, it will breathe underwater. Simple as that. So the only reason we can't is because our mind tells us we can't. So if we go in truly believing that we can breathe underwater, then we will.
Well, I'm sure we've all seen that film, The Abyss.
Yeah.
Where they went down, the helmet filled with fluid, and they breathed the fluid in, and the fluid then obviously went in the system. Again, it was an oxygenated fluid that went into the bloodstream. They then could breathe.
If you think about it, it's the same thing fish do. They take in the fluid, extract the oxygen, and throw out the water.
We have birthing pools. You give birth to babies in pools and things like that because we can breathe underwater.
Yeah, drown the poor little bugger before it gets any problems.
So technically, we can breathe, that way. That's why I know that for maybe for a small period of time, and then bang, once you start taking your first breath, apparently you lose the ability to do all that, and it's gone, isn't it? It's gone for good.
I'm not sure about that one.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's something.
There's a question on here that says, "Is it true that if you have a double crown, you're never drowned?" Or is that just an old wives' tale?
Well, a double crown, as in your hair, double crown. I think it's all right, your hair, aren't they? Double crown, top of your head. They're all about.
Yeah.
It's got to be an old wives' tale. That. Yeah. I wouldn't like to try it on somebody.
I wouldn't either. I mean, I've got a double crown. I'm definitely not going to
try. Just throw you in then and see what happens.
No chance. Yes, I would agree with Andy about saying we don't have the correct body parts to extract oxygen, but we did. So what happened to them? Yeah, we did when we were babies, when we were first born. So.
Well, yeah, because you're living in fluid for 9 months of your life.
We can't breathe. Yeah, Andy's right. We can't breathe on
the thing is, though, don't forget, you're also connected to the an umbilical cord, which is connected to the uterus, which is connected to your mother. Now, the oxygen is coming.
Andy's saying, please, guys, we can't. Osmosis, absorption while in the womb. It is, I've probably got it. I don't know what that's all about, but
sorry.
Well, he said he's in the pub with some spirit.
Basically, that's what happens when you're in the
osmosis
in the room.
Absorption.
That's what it's called. He said he's probably got it.
Yes, we don't breathe.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
It's coming through the. It's not actually you're breathing oxygen.
No, it's coming.
It's coming through the umbilical cord from the
thingamabob,
the placenta.
Yeah, but having said that, why if you put a newborn baby underwater, it still won't drown?
It does
only for a few seconds.
Yeah, but I mean, we've seen babies underwater swimming, going. Yay!
They don't panic because they feel comfortable. That's what it is. If you don't panic, you don't drown as fast.
Well, there you go. There's the guys. If you fall off a ship, don't panic. You'll live for a few minutes longer.
It's an old wives' tale about the double crown that Andy said. We're going to have to do a show in old wives' tales, I suppose, won't we? Superstitions.
And urban legends. A lot of things come from urban legends.
Yes.
See, that's why we have a belly button.
So.
Well, mine's definitely.
I thought I had a belly button because I was that ugly as a kid. Someone poked me. He's a bit chubby, him. And I've got this imprint.
Well, I thought someone cut a big chunk out of me at one stage. It's that big.
Mine was that big, and somebody did cut the bloody thing off.
We're going to have to wrap this up, guys.
Yes. Are you an innie or an outie? That's next month's show.
No. Right now, I'm an outie. I wasn't, but
I'm an innie. It's cold.
So we're going to have to wrap this show up, I'm afraid. It's been
See,
a brilliant show.
guys, we can talk about just about anything on this
Yes.
show.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, I hope you enjoyed it all anyway.
Yes, and as I say, hopefully next week, I've contacted them again because I need a bio. But hopefully, touch wood, fingers crossed, that I don't get let down again. So we've got, as I said, Joanne Summerscales on from Amash, and she's talking about UFO abductees.
Boy, actually, just looking at that there, they've put innie and outies. People have innie and outies belly buttons. I wonder if people with innies or outies have different psychic levels of vibrational.
Oh, please.
Hey, that's something to have a look at.
He's at it again, isn't he?
And he's at it again. And Andy's just said that he's writing a book on folklore and magic. Like I said, he looks forward to reading that. But it gives us another topic for Andy to come on and tell us about.
It does. Definitely does. So, and he's promised to come up one time and be on the show live.
Oh, yes.
I'm still waiting for that.
Maybe that's the one.
Maybe, you never know. He's planning something. Okay. But as I say, you wasn't here when I mentioned this. We've got Joanne Summerscales on, hopefully, as I said. And she's from the Anomalous Mind Management Abductee Contactee Helpline. And they give support.
No, say that backwards.
The Helpline Contactee Abductee Management Mind Anomalous. She gives support and counselling to those who believe that they have had extraterrestrial contact.
That'll be me then. So I'll need to speak to her when she comes up here. That'd be good.
So,
and Andy said he'd definitely be up in the summer.
I'm hoping she's remembered. Otherwise, it's just us, I'm afraid. Again.
Well, but look how much we can talk about.
I know.
So much we can talk about.
Yes.
It's endless. That's the thing. The paranormal's endless. It opens different doorways.
I don't like it when people let me down at the last minute. I must admit, I've had that a couple of times.
But having said that, even just jamming amongst ourselves, we can still come up with stuff that's interesting. And we can. Just what I said earlier about the energy. I'm sure you've both taken something from that you can believe in yourself, even if you don't believe the whole thing.
There's a lot of things I believe in that other people think it's absolute rubbish. But there you go, that's my views and other people's.
This type of thing that that we're doing in here, and you guys, and then the people on the chat room as well, and maybe anybody else that's listening, we can devise theories and concepts because it's a unique opportunity. On the show like this, to bring ideas, whether people are right or wrong or whatever the case is, but to bring all the ideas together in a unity, and to get, you can structure theories and things like that, and then obviously you got to try and put these theories into context and into practice, and then we can maybe provide bits of proof. But it gives us that every person, the listeners, us inside here, everybody, it gives us that little bit extra. We think, you know what, that's just giving me an idea. And then we do, this is where the dreams come from, and we build on these things, and it's part of the evolution of paranormal investigators to go forward in things.
Yeah,
I think. And
this is it.
Discovery.
It's all about sharing as well.
Of course it is. Yeah, of course it is.
So, but as I say, we're going to have to call it for tonight. Viscount said tonight's show has truly shown that the concept of the paranormal is alive. Is without a doubt. Oh, without a doubt, is alive.
Yeah, I think he missed a word there, but I do agree with him.
Here, Viscount.
Andy, I don't know what an ISDN line is all about. It sounds good, and if it can be done,
I've googled it, and business people on BT can get it. So we'll have a look.
We're not business.
We'll still have a look and see if it's possible for us to get it.
Radio shows use it to give the impression the person is in the studio. That would be good.
Like this, because I'm actually in Colombia at the moment. I'm not sat in here, but people think I'm sat here.
Well, you're in Colombia. Martin's actually in Brazil waiting for the World Cup to start.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to telepathically send one. Martin, while you're over there,
Me
get
and
us a
Emma
bud.
are in Miami.
And Stephen sat here wishing.
And I'm enjoying myself because I haven't got nobody messing me about.
I'll before you go or anything, I'll just prove to you, Steve, that I'm not here. Right, I'm not here. And I'll prove to everybody I'm not here. I'll ask you 3 questions.
Go on then.
You answer me just yes or no.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I in America?
No.
Am I in Argentina?
No.
Am I in Australia?
No.
If I'm not in America, Argentina, or Australia, I must be somewhere else, yeah?
Correct.
If I'm somewhere else, I can't be here. Boom, boom. I told you I wasn't here. Thank you very much.
Oh dear, I'm not going to repeat what Viscount's just said, where he is.
No, but you can read it, John.
Where's he for?
I don't know.
Yeah, in Colombia, yeah.
So, Ghost Rider says he's listening from another planet. Well, it's Norfolk, isn't it?
Yeah, it is Norfolk, but that also explains why we couldn't reach him earlier.
Yeah, probably. So, but I don't know.
Yeah, it is another planet, I've got to admit. It's,
Norfolk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes ages to get there.
Doesn't it has a last name? In Chance, doesn't it?
In Chance?
Yeah, Norfolk.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, so moving on.
It does, but
I had a long day, my energies have been drained.
But before we get taken off air, there's only one thing for us to say.
Yes, and that is...
Are you ready, guys?
Keep the paranormal friendly.
Good night and God bless.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
This is where it's at.
To see in the night, to measure the spike, to see how cold it's been. I buy my kit so I won't forget the ghosties that I have seen. The Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Services Ghost Store. So visit www.the-pigs.co.uk/ghost store.